good morning, good afternoon, whenever the fuck you're listening or watching. This is Tailgate Trash Talk. I got my man, Gary Freeze. Gary, how you been, bud?
Good, bud. Good, bud. Good to see you again. Another great week of college football and another upcoming great week of college football. Excited for it.
Dude, 2 weeks of college football. Upsets.
We've had mayhem, dude.
We've had mayhem. We have had mayhem, and we will get into all of that. But before we go into the mayhem, Gary, 1 week from today.
1 week.
1 week from today, where are we going to be?
Down in Blacksburg, baby. Podcasting from Blacksburg prior to the border war.
Can't wait.
Yes, sir.
Tech, West Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Cannot wait. We are going to be tailgating and podcasting from the student parking lot of Tech. And probably going to be drinking some beers and cooking some food.
Likely.
I mean, you have to. I mean, college football tailgate.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have to.
Absolutely.
I cannot wait for 1 week from today, bud.
Hell yeah, bud.
It's probably going to be one for the ages.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, so last week we had mayhem last week. What the fuck happened,
dude? I mean, we had a good top 10, a couple good top 10 matchups the week prior, and this week we had some top 10 teams go down outside of the top 10. It was crazy, and a couple of them were pretty huge upsets, especially that Texas A&M upset. Nobody's surprised by App State, but that's a big win. That's a big win for App State and a bad loss for A&M.
Yeah, bad loss. Alfred Station, Gary Freeze Sr., appreciate you joining again, sir.
Yes, sir.
Always. UTSA.
Beat Army. That was a hell of a game, man.
That was a hell of a game.
Hell of a game. Actually, Aaron, I won some money on that game.
There you go.
I took UTSA -3.5, I think it was, and they covered for me. So
yeah,
in overtime, but they covered.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's talk about this mayhem. Let's do a little top 25 review here.
Yes, sir.
So Saturday, you started off with South Carolina, Arkansas. Really not a no-brainer here. South Carolina, they can't run the ball. They didn't really get any pressure whatsoever.
Rattler is still not good.
Oh, yeah.
I know why South Carolina went and got him, because you're talking about a guy who was top, what was he, like third or fourth in that group, in the number one quarterback in that recruiting class, but he can't play. Can't play at this level, and it showed again on Saturday. If they'd have gotten better quarterback play, I think they'd have been in this game. I don't think they would have won it, but they scored some late. This wasn't as close as the score says, and it was still a 14-point game. Arkansas looks the part again this year. South Carolina, love Beamer ball. I love the direction that he seems to be, moving that program. It's going to take some time to rebuild because the cupboard was pretty bare when he got there.
Yeah.
But Rattler's just not the answer under center.
No. But at the same time, too, they got to get a better offensive line.
They need a lot of pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
they need a lot of pieces. But, man, Rattler just looks bad.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Moving on. Alabama, Texas. Big noon game here.
This almost made the weekend unbelievable.
Yes.
In terms of turmoil and mayhem in the top 10. This
was what?
This would have blown things open.
A
20 and a half.
Yep. 20 and a half point favorite.
20 and a hook.
Yeah. Is Texas back? Does Sark have him back?
I think so. They looked good defensively. They were stymieing that Alabama offense that doesn't have. I think people are underestimating how much they're going to miss those wide receivers they had last year, Williams and
they have. Yeah.
Those guys, burners, man. They were difference makers on the outside. And they can't seem to get a lot of separation on the outside. Bryce Young is constantly having to pull the ball down. He ran a lot more on Saturday than I've seen him in a lot of games. And it was out of necessity. He had to move the chains. There was numerous 3rd and 5, 3rd and 7 where he would scoot, get enough for the first down and get out of bounds. But he's not a guy that runs a ton. He's athletic, so he can run, but he prefers to stay back there and run Bill O'Brien's offense. But I don't know what they're going to do later in the season when they play a team like Georgia. Because if you can't get separation on the outside, that Georgia defense is going to fucking suffocate you.
Yeah.
The penalties, how uncharacteristic was that from a Saban coach team? But
stupid. A lot of it was mental. Yeah. A lot
late
of
hits, personal fouls, pre-snap motion. Like it was it was not a characteristic, a normal Saban game. And you could see he was just boiling on the sideline, but it just kept feeling more and more as the game went on, like, holy shit, Texas might pull this off.
Mm-hmm.
Even without Ewers, who, if he plays that whole game, I do feel like Texas probably wins because he was throwing with anticipation. Hudson got hurt when he came in. They were in big trouble at quarterback, the Longhorns. So I just feel like if Ewers was to play this whole game, we might be talking about Alabama dropping from number 1 and then questioning how far they should fall. And if Texas is 2-0 with a win over Alabama, are they suddenly a top 10, top 15 team? They were kind of fringe top 25 prior to this game. If they had knocked off Alabama, we might be talking about the Longhorns being in the top 10 right now. So this is and Aaron, yeah, for sure. Like, a lot of broken tackles late, especially. But that defense was getting a lot of pressure on Bryce Young. That's something for them to hang their hat on. Ewers, I know, is going to miss some time, but hopefully he comes back and plays this well. They've got Arch coming in. But you asked the question, Stove, are they back? It feels like it.
Okay. All right. So let's dive into this, okay? And we can get back, we can touch more on this later, but as a Husker fan, and when the Huskers played, say, Ohio State or Michigan State to a 1-score game, are they back? No, they're not fucking back. Yeah. They're not back. You want to know why? Because you didn't win the game. You have not put those consecutive wins in a row to be back. Yes, you can play better. Sure, you could be on the right trajectory, but did you win those ball games? No. Did Texas win this? No. Had they played better? Yes. But now let's see how they play against, say, I don't know, Baylor, Iowa State, Kansas. Some of these FBS schools that they're going to play here. Do they play to their level, or do they play Texas ball that they played against Alabama? If they can do that and win those ball games, then I will come back here and I will say Texas is back.
That's fair.
But until you start winning some ball games against these types of opponents consecutively and consistently, absolutely not.
Yeah, that's fair. You got to prove it.
Absolutely. You got to prove it.
Yeah.
Got to prove it.
Yeah, but Aaron, real quick before we move on to the next game.
Yeah.
I see the 12-point line on it, and to be honest, I'm taking those points this week because their backup quarterback Hudson, he's injured too, and he got nicked up in that game. They're going to struggle offensively. I think this is going to be a tight game.
Go Roadrunners.
Spoil my pick, but yeah, for sure, Roadrunners for sure. And I think that line reflects. If Ewers was healthy, I think Texas is more of maybe 18, something like that. No, you're good. I just wanted to touch base there. Aaron said that, and rightfully so. To be honest, with the quarterback situation, 12 points seems fair. I think Aaron, it's a little more Ewers.
So let me ask Aaron the question here. Aaron, after watching your Roadrunners for the first 2 games and watching that Texas team play against Alabama, who are you picking this week?
Ew.
All right. Arkansas State, Ohio State, not much of a discussion here.
The only surprise here is that it was only 33.
Yeah, exactly. Moving on, Southern Miss, Miami. Anything you want to touch base on with this one, Gary?
Crystal Ball's got them playing what looks like pretty clean football. 23 points. I would have maybe liked to see them win by a little more, but 23 points still 3 scores.
It's still a W.
Yeah, for sure. So I like where Crystal Ball's moving with that team. We're going to see this weekend. They play,
Aaron.
They play A&M this weekend, which despite all the problems A&M has at quarterback that I talked about a bit last week before the App State game, they're still a talented team. So let's see what Miami can do this week against a little stiffer competition, because Miami hasn't really played anybody to that level yet this year.
Absolutely. Wake Forest, Vandy. Gary?
Good to see Sam Hartman back after the health scare.
Mm-hmm.
This game started out a little choppy for them, and then they got it going. That offense can still score points. I worry that defense is still going to let them down, though, because Vandy moved the ball up and down the field quite a bit, only scored 25 points in this game. But Vandy is not a team that I think strikes fear into a lot of defenses. And if Wake Forest is having trouble stopping them, they're going to be in some high-scoring games because they can score. But I think they're also going to be in some games where they're going to be chasing a lot of points.
Yeah, and
it'll be fun to watch.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, Anchor Down, finally bit the bullet, lost a game on the season. So there went my SEC champion right there with that loss right there to Wake Forest. Charleston Southern, NC State, nothing to see here. The Wolfpack took care of business, 55-3. Moving on, Southern Utah against the Utes of Utah, 73-7. Great bounce back win for Utah after a nail biter there in Florida. Good to see.
Got some frustration. It would appear.
You would hate to be that team that played them after that loss to Florida there.
Oh, and it's a rollover game too, so that they know they can get some points. They just 73.
Yep, 73. Marshall,
yes,
goes into South Bend to take on the Fighting Irish. Come out victorious, 26-21. Have the floor, Gary.
I hate being excited about this. I'm going to say that first because I like Marcus Freeman. I like the story. I like the team and how they reacted to him. However, I'm treating this season with Notre Dame exactly how I have a buddy. He watches sometimes. So Perry, if you're watching, he's a Notre Dame fan. And I bet him at the start of the season that Notre Dame would win no more than 8 games because Brian Kelly left that cupboard fucking bare, especially at quarterback. They don't have anybody that can move the ball under center. They're still good on defense. As we saw in this game, the defense kept giving them chances. They can't score points. And Marcus Freeman's going to need a year or two to really get a quarterback in there that can play, the style of football that he wants to play. I think they're going to try to change the offense up a bit from what Brian Kelly had with some of that spread it, run and shoot. Freeman seems like a guy who's more defensive minded. He wants to run the ball, wants a quarterback, more of a traditional guy. I'm curious to see how things go there with him, but man, is it not fucking incredibly fun to watch 3? I don't want to be too crazy here with some of the fresh wound, but 3 Sun Belt teams go and knock off Power 5 schools. Marshall knocks off a number 8 Notre Dame. We're going to talk about it in a minute with App State knocking off the number 9 team in the country. Or I'm sorry, not number 9, number 4. Were they 4 at the time, 5 at the time? And the Sun Belt goes and gets 3 kind of feathers in their cap this weekend, starting with Marshall, who looked fast. Those transfers that they brought in, dude, they can play some ball. Nobody better be looking past Marshall because they've got some guys that can play some football up there.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one. I'm excited about it, but I like Marcus Freeman, and so. But I've never been like a big Notre Dame fan, even though, I'm Catholic and that's what you're supposed to do, root for Notre Dame. And so for all my Catholic friends who are Notre Dame fans, I'm just laughing at you, but you can laugh right back at me with my loss for last weekend as well, too. So fair is fair. Clemson, Furman, 35-12. Gary and I have been saying it before the season started. We're going to continue to say it until we are proven wrong. Dabo, switch the QBs.
DJ ain't the guy, man.
He is not the guy.
Oh, you go play Furman and the offense sputters for most of the game. That's not a team that performance against Furman is not going to beat many teams this season in the FBS. That was not good. Not good.
Not good at all. Change the QB there, Dabs.
Yeah, it's clobbering time.
All right. Appalachian State goes to Texas A&M, home of the 12th man. Comes out victorious, 17-14.
Is this not right?
Carolina, baby.
Right.
And we've been talking about what could possibly go to a game there, and look what they did.
Yep.
You know, and now game day's going there this weekend.
Yeah, I love it. And they almost knocked off UNC in week 1, in Boone.
Yep.
And then they follow that up with an upset win in College Station against Texas A&M. I talked last week a bit about the struggles at quarterback that A&M has, and they continued. Haynes King he doesn't seem to be ready, and they don't really have a backup plan. They don't have a second option there at quarterback, and they have a lot of skill players that can really play, but they just seem to it bogs down at the quarterback position. The offensive line struggles, and they can't run the ball, but that quarterback play is just going to hinder them the whole season. I almost went out on a limb last week. I kid you not. I almost went out on a limb last week. I took the points with App State, so I got the spread right. But I sat here as I was making the pick, almost changed my mind because I was talking myself into this is a game that App State steals.
Yeah, and I wish I could have been here last weekend because this was one of my upset picks.
I wish you were here, man. That would have been awesome. That would have been awesome. That would have been great to have on the show because I sat here and almost talked myself into it because this is one of those games. This is the App State. You never know, as Aaron just said. You just don't know. Nobody wants to play App State with their season on the line. It's crazy. And they go into College Station, knock off the number 6 team in the country, 17-14, and it was nip tuck late. And A&M had a chance at a field goal to tie it up, but college kickers and all those factors. But wow, what a fucking game.
So let me just agree with everything you just said. Let me piggyback off that a little bit here. And Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M, what a fucking weekend and start of the week that they've had since this loss. The video surfacing of, and we all know Texas A&M does that for all their home games and everything else. You might want to rethink of what you're saying and everything else and what gets put out on the internet. Texas A&M trying to scrub that video off of every social media outlet there is possible. It is not
out there, though.
It is out there.
On the internet.
Yeah. This is not 1995.
You can't just stop the printing presses.
No. So you have that. Then you have someone tweeting or making a comment to the press, negative comment. And then you see one of your starters, freaking Tokyo drifting in the freaking parking garage. Luckily, someone didn't get hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, if someone did, what one hell of a fucking week Texas A&M has had on their hands. But luckily, no one was hurt. Jimbo, instead of worrying about what other coaches say about you, you might want to start worrying about your team, bud.
Yeah. Saban's the least of your worries right now.
Tennessee 20 goes to Pittsburgh, 34-27 in OT. Pittsburgh, the higher ranked team, the home team, and they were 10-point underdogs. What'd you like about this one?
I think the line ended up closing at 6.5.
Okay.
So I made a couple bucks on this game too. This was another one I ended up winning last weekend. So I had Tennessee winning. I believe during the show I took the points with Pittsburgh because it was 10.5, but it closed on Saturday at 6.5. So I ended up winning money on that because of that. But Tennessee, they can score, and they can score quick. And Pittsburgh found that out really, really fucking quickly because Pitt looked like they were going to take control of this game. And then suddenly Hendon Hooker got it going, and they started hitting on these, these big plays down the field with those really speedy wide receivers, started spreading the defense out. The running game got going. Tennessee can score with a quickness. Now, when they're in SEC play, I think they're going to struggle to stop teams. They're going to be like the Wake Forest of the SEC. They're going to play a lot of high-scoring games, I think. But they are fun to watch on offense. Hooker is a playmaker. He's got a big, big arm, and they've got some big-time wide receivers on the outside that make them fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will give credit where credit is due, because at the beginning of the season, I was not on the Pitt Panther train. After everything that they lost and everything else like that, they've actually played pretty decently these first two games. And to play a Tennessee team like that, and to play them in overtime and really, aside, a couple stops here and there and some turnovers, they could have won this ball game easily.
Well, it's another one. Slovis got nicked up, and they had their backup quarterback in who was having some issues too. So, injuries this weekend played a factor in a couple of games, and Tennessee might be a little fortunate to have gotten to overtime and won this game. But you're absolutely right about Pitt. They've certainly proven me wrong, because I thought they were going to take a huge step back this year, and through the first 2 weeks of the season, that's not true. The backyard brawl, they stuck with it, pulled that out. West Virginia kind of gave it away late, but Pitt went and took it when the opportunity was there. And then this game, they certainly showed out pretty well against what I think is a pretty good Tennessee team who's going to compete in that SEC East. It's probably Georgia and everybody else, but Tennessee and Kentucky are going to be neck and neck there for maybe second place in the SEC East. That's a good Tennessee team, and Pittsburgh played pretty well, despite losing their quarterback in about the midway point of the third quarter, I believe is when he went out.
Yeah, absolutely. Washington State goes to Wisconsin, gets the dub by 3, 17-14.
This was a short line. Vegas knew something. I think what this closed like 6.5 or 8.5.
I don't remember this one.
It closed that short, and I remember bringing it up on the show last week. This feels like too small of a number, and I thought Wisconsin was just going to run it down their throats. Look, Washington State's defense showed up and handled the big boys up front for Wisconsin. Scored just enough points to get this win. Big upset, big time win for Washington State. Probably their biggest win in 5, 6, 7 years since they last upset. I believe it was Oregon that had some national title aspirations, and Wazoo upset them. But man, what a big win! Feather in the cap for the Pac-12, who'd already taken some big L's with Oregon getting smashed and Utah losing in Gainesville. This is a pretty big feather in the cap for Wazoo and the Pac-12, especially as they lose a couple of teams to the Big Ten anyway.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, Samford, Georgia, 33-0. Really, the only thing that I'll say on this is I'm surprised it was only 33.
Only 33? Yeah, I agree completely.
Akron, Michigan State, 52-0. Michigan State. Nothing much there for the Zips. Houston travels to Texas Tech. Texas Tech gets the victory, 33-30. In 2 overtimes. Gary, anything about this one?
One small tidbit about this one. Last week, if those that are watching remember, I said Texas Tech by a field goal because it was a 3-point line, and I said Vegas nailed it. And I said Texas Tech, I'm going to push. I had 2 pushes. I got one wrong. This was the push that I had that hit Texas Tech by a field goal because the line was 3. They end up winning in double overtime by exactly a field goal. So I'm gonna throw that one out there as nice. Kind of a feather in the cap for Tailgate.
Absolutely.
Houston is not the 25th best team in the country.
No, they're not.
Let's be honest about that too.
Yeah. Kent State goes to Oklahoma. Oklahoma 33-3. Not much here. Not much needs to be said. Oklahoma gets a dub. Kentucky travels to the Swamp. 26-16. The Wildcats.
Boy, I love the way Stoops has got these boys playing, man. And I mentioned it last week, and I know you and I talked about it, that Florida was not a top 15 team after that win. They got a great win over Utah. Don't get me wrong. Utah's on the road. They got to fly across the country. Gainesville's a tough place to play in the swamp. But Florida was not a top 15 team.
No.
That was a bit of a knee-jerk reaction, a bit of maybe SEC bias even from the voters. And Kentucky went into the swamp and said, yeah, you're not a top 15 team here. And knocked them off. And they played a little sloppy out the gate. But, man, Kentucky settled in. Look out, because they've got a big-time NFL quarterback prospect. They may have a top 5 pick in the draft. This is probably the best opportunity they've had since, of course, he went and flamed out in the NFL. But, Tim Couch, back when the Browns drafted him, this is the best opportunity Kentucky's had in terms of a NFL prospect under center. They've had some good guys come through, but this guy can play, man. This guy can fucking play.
The dude watches Scarface the night before a game. You want that guy on your team.
Yes. Say hello to my little friend.
Love it. Love it. Love what Kentucky did there.
Yeah.
Richardson for QB for Florida. He's not
an
the
athlete.
He's an athlete.
Yeah.
Everyone was trying to compare him to Vince Young.
No,
absolutely not.
Yeah, that was so much overreaction. Utah had some problems with him, but I think that was more on Utah than it was.
That was more on Utah. Utah really doesn't have a defense.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Kentucky put the clamps on him. They got a little bit early in the game, but once Kentucky really settled in, and once Will Levis settled down, because he made a couple of uncharacteristic bad decisions early in this game too that put him in bad positions.
Yeah.
Once he settled down and Kentucky started playing complementary football, the offense was doing their thing while the defense was still doing their thing. That's when Kentucky really seized control of this game.
Yeah. Yep. And for Florida to not score anything in the second half.
Yeah.
Got to do something. Got to make some adjustments.
Yep.
Central Arkansas goes to Ole Miss. Ole Miss 59-3. Nothing needs to be said there. USC goes to Stanford, gets the dub 41-28. I'm still not convinced. With the USC team. Stanford has not been the Stanford that, it once was a few years ago. And really the Pac-12 is nothing.
Yeah.
So I'm still not convinced here. But a dub's a dub. A dub's a dub. Get it any way you can. So, give credit where credit's due, but I'm still not fully convinced on this USC team. I think they're still a seven win team.
Ooh, really? 7 wins?
7.
Okay. I don't think they're a playoff team, but I'm slowly, maybe more quickly, obviously more quickly than you if you're saying they're a 7-win team, because
I think at the beginning of the season I picked 6, but I'm going to bump it up 1.
Yeah, so I think that Link's done a better job of bringing together the offense, and they've got some playmakers on defense that they've got the USC recruiting. Obviously, they can bring guys in. I like what Caleb Williams has been able to do with the offense. They've got some new pieces there, the transfer portal and everything else. This was a 7-point. I had USC covering. This is about, I think I said it was like maybe a 2-score game or something like that. This felt like exactly the way I thought this game would play out with Stanford, because it's not easy to go to Stanford. No matter how down Stanford is, nobody wants to go to Stanford and play them, because David Shaw gets those guys up for these types of games, whether they're down on talent or not. They get up for these games. And USC took care of business, and this is a step toward Lincoln saying, hey, I'm here, we're here, and we're here for the long haul. I don't think that they're they're certainly not an undefeated team. I've got them probably closer to 9 or 10 wins. Honestly, the way they feel right now, mostly this has to do a bit with what Link's done so far, but also the Pac-12 is really down.
Yeah,
honestly, and if they can split with Utah and Oregon, get one of those out of those two, I think they're going to be able to beat the teams like Oregon State, Washington State. The Pac-12 is just it's down, and I think they're going to be able to beat up on some of those lesser teams.
Gotcha. Arizona State goes to Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State 34-17. Really, I mean, Arizona State's bad. They're still bad. I really don't know what Herm's doing down there. I think it's just time to hang it up for him. Go back to being an analyst. Not much else needs to be said on this one.
I hate it for him.
I do too.
This was a tighter game in the beginning than it ended up being 17 points down the stretch. But I hate it for Herm because I know he just loves coaching.
Yeah.
But
and he does it the right way.
Absolutely. But the college game is just so different than the NFL game. And I want him back on TV too, selfishly. Yeah. I want him back on TV because he's tremendous on TV.
Yeah. Hawaii, Michigan 56-10. Who cares? Baylor travels to BYU. The Cougs get the victory 26-20 in 2 overtimes. This was a good game.
Yeah, this was the other 3-point line that I said was going to be a push. I thought it was going to be a field goal game here. Ended up in double overtime. BYU gets a touchdown, and Baylor can't match. And, great game. And Baylor being a top 10 team, they certainly proved that they are a good team going into Provo, a tough place to play, the elevation and everything else that goes along with that. But BYU, are you a believer?
Not really.
No.
They've
got a crazy schedule. If they run the table with their schedule, it's going to be impossible for them to not be in the playoff. They've still got this weekend. They play Oregon. They've still got Arkansas. They've still got Notre Dame, which Notre Dame's down now. And then they've got one other one on their schedule, and it's eluding me right now. But they've got like some big games left on their schedule. If they run the table, it's going to be impossible to keep them out. But
yeah,
I'm with you. This felt like a game that Baylor, being on the road, BYU kind of seized an opportunity here in overtime to win at home. I don't know that they're going to be able to keep it going. I could see Oregon knocking them off this weekend.
Yeah. I'm still not a big believer on them just yet. But they made me a little bit more of a believer after this game against the number 9 team in Baylor there. So overall on the season, Gary, you are 30-14. I am 34-10. Not too bad.
No, those numbers aren't terrible. I had a tough first week, better second week. You've had a couple of upsets that separated you a little bit, and then a couple that brought you back. So, man, those are. I mean, look, if you took those numbers to Vegas, you'd be doing all right.
Absolutely.
Maybe we need to. Maybe we need to start doing that.
Maybe. All right. Before we get to our matchups for this week, let's take a quick 30-second sponsor break brought to you by PocketPairClub.com. Pocket Pair Club, club number 26881 for all of your gambling needs. All right, we're back, and that little break was brought to you by one of our sponsors, Pocket Pair Club, PocketPairClub.com. club number 26881 for all of your gambling needs. Please gamble responsibly. All right, let's get into week 3. Gary, starts off with Georgia, South Carolina. The Dogs travel to Cockland. 24.5 point favorite. Gary, you see any upsets in the making here?
Not here. I'm gonna lay the points. I know it's a pretty big spread, 24.5, but what I saw from South Carolina last week, and it was kind of a carryover from the first week. I don't think they're gonna be able to move the ball against this Georgia defense, and Georgia's got some fucking animals on the offensive side of the ball. I could see this game being something like a 30, 38-10, 35-7, something like that. So I'm gonna lay the points with Georgia this week.
So South Carolina is without a couple key starters.
Yep.
Georgia has not allowed a touchdown all season.
They're allowing 1.5 points per game. And they played the number 9 team in the country to start the season.
That's pretty solid. Georgia is going to South Carolina, state I currently live in. I can't do it.
I wanted you to so bad, though. That'd be a hell of an upset pick, man. 25-point dog.
Yeah. I like Beamer and all. I like him.
Yeah.
But until you can start running the ball, and Spencer Rattler is not going to beat Georgia. Not going to happen. Give me Georgia in this one. Give me Georgia.
Yeah.
Number 6, Oklahoma travels to the state of Nebraska, the state of confusion, the state of despair right now. Open up as an 11.5 point favorite. Gary, I'll let you lead with this one, bud.
I was a little tossed up on this one until I saw the press conference earlier with the interim head coach, Mickey Joseph. Yeah. And he struggled to kind of get anything out at that press conference, and it didn't instill a lot of confidence in me that he's ready for that job. I know he's been there a little while with Scott Frost, but
Frosty just hired him this year. He just brought him in from LSU this year.
Right. He is new this year. I for some reason I thought he was a carryover guy, but either way, the press conference, it didn't seem like he really had his bearings. So I think that it's going to be a tough week for Nebraska. A lot of talk about what's next season, and how do they recover from Scott Frost? Who's it going to be? So I think that Oklahoma is going to just kind of be workman-like here, maybe by 2 tutties, might be a 13 or 14 point game. I'm going to lay the points. Might have to sweat it, but I'm going to lay the points.
Yeah. Obviously, with Nebraska losing to Georgia Southern, the Eagles or the Hawks, I don't know what the hell they are. They ran the ball down Nebraska's throat. Almost 700 yards of total offense for them. The one thing that I did like that I saw today from Mickey Joseph, he took away the black shirts.
Yeah.
And if anyone knows the tradition and the history of Nebraska black shirts, it's pretty cool. The only thing I didn't like about him taking away the black shirts, I didn't think he needed to take them away. I think they should have been given back by the players, because you give up that type of performance, take it the fuck away. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm. Holy shit! We just got an in-podcast alert. The Mud Dogs linebacker, Bobby Boucher. Holy shit! Whoa! go, baby. The Huskers are going to win this one. The Huskers.
Oh, yeah.
The Oklahoma Sooners, Mickey Joseph, interim coach. Get that dub, baby. Get that
Get
dub.
after
Go
it,
the
buddy. Get after it, bud. Nice. I like the pick. Hey, I like the passion. That was a huge lead in. I love it.
It's going to be a difficult game if the defense can tackle, literally just tackle, which he said that they are going to work on tackling in practice this week, live tackling. I really think Nebraska has a shot here, and I'm picking the Skurs, baby. I'm picking the Skurs.
I like it.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
UConn travels to Michigan. All right, I'm just going to say it right now. Fuck Michigan and their fucking pussy ass schedule. You have fucking Michigan. You have fucking Hawaii. You have who the fuck ever. You have 4 games of games that should not even be games. I hope UConn goes into the big house and upsets Michigan. Is it going to happen? Am I picking it? No, I'm not going to pick it, but I really hope it does happen.
Really want it. Yeah. What a fucking cupcake. Ooh, crazy. And I know like these ADs work these things out in advance, but like they know what they're doing, slotting fucking 4 goddamn cupcakes in 2022. So yeah, I think it's gonna come back to bite them, to be honest. Once they get to Big Ten play,
absolutely.
I think they're potentially in for a rude awakening because Harbaugh has been able to just fuck around with the quarterback situation. I talked about it last week. You and I talked about it after week 1. The weird situation with them saying, "Oh, we're gonna start one this week, one next week," and then in week 1 at halftime, he makes the switch. I think Michigan's setting themselves up really for a letdown once Big Ten play starts, but not this week. They're going to smash UConn. I'm laying 47.5, to be honest, in this game because UConn is, as much as I like what Jim Mora Jr. could do for that program, because I think he's a good coach. I think he's a smart guy. I think he's charismatic. He probably can recruit a little bit. They're not good. They're not good. And Michigan could turn around and hand the ball off 75 times and win this game by 50.
Yeah. Youngstown State, Kentucky. We'll both just go Kentucky here.
By a bunch.
Yeah. Texas State goes into Baylor. Baylor by 30. We're both going to pick Baylor. But Gary, are you going to take the points here?
I'm going to lay them. I almost took them. I'm going to lay them because I think Baylor's going to look for a big bounce back off the loss last week.
Okay. BYU goes into Oregon. Oregon, 3.5-point favorites. I will go. I'll go BYU on this one. I'll go BYU.
I'm taking the points. I'm going to call my shot on this one like I did a couple times last week. This one is Oregon by a field goal. If this was 2.5, I lay the points, but it's 3.5. I'm taking the points. Oregon by a field goal. And I would not be surprised, right, if BYU does pull off the upset. If BYU wins this game this week, they're gonna push me closer to being a believer. That's for damn sure.
That's absolutely.
You go into Eugene and knock an Oregon team off. Yeah. But give me Oregon by a field goal.
All right. Ole Miss travels to Georgia Tech. Can't see the point spread there. Sorry.
It's 16.5.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going Ole Miss. Ole Miss on this one. You taking Ole Miss?
Yeah, I'm going to lay the points. Georgia Tech can't score, and I think Ole Miss last week showed that their offense is starting to figure it out.
Absolutely. Moving on, number 22, Penn State travels to Auburn. PSU, 3-point favorites. Gary, who you got?
I've got in my notes Auburn +3. I'm taking the points, but Auburn's going to win the game outright, to be honest. They're going to win the game outright.
I'm right there with you. Auburn on this one.
Penn State's been living on the edge, and they just haven't. They've been out of sorts. So
yeah.
Auburn.
Yep.
At home.
Louisiana Monroe travels to Alabama. I don't even know why they gave a point spread
I'm
here of
surprised this had a spread.
49. And I would hate to be Louisiana Monroe after the ash chewing that Nick Saban has given to his players and the week of practice. This is going to be just a thrashing.
I heard he sacrificed 2 freshmen, one at each goalpost, to the football gods because that was absurd what happened last week. Bama's gonna score fucking 60 in this game. Give me Bama, and I'm laying 49. Yeah. I don't want to be Louisiana Monroe after that.
Nope. Definitely
you couldn't pay me enough to go into Tuscaloosa and play Saban after they had a sloppy, undisciplined game against Texas and almost lost.
Yeah.
They're coming out fucking swinging.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Liberty, Wake Forest. Wake Forest, 16.5-point favorite. Liberty doesn't have Malik Willis anymore. And I like Wake Forest offense, especially with their QB back now. Give me Wake Forest by this one.
I'm going the other way. I'm going to take the points. I've got Wake Forest winning, but I think it's going to be a back-and-forth offensive game. Hugh Freeze has still got them boys scoring points there in Liberty. They've got some playmakers still on that offense. They don't have Malik Willis, so they're not going to, be able to do some of the things they were able to last year. But I'm going to take 16.5 in this one. I think, Wake Forest probably by a touchdown, maybe as much as 10 late in this game.
All right. Toledo, Ohio State. 32-point favorites. Well, I'm just going to say Ohio State outright.
Yeah, I'm going to lay the points. If I'm wagering, I'm going to lay the points in this one. I don't love it. I think it's going to be a sweat. Last week, Ohio State didn't cover against an inferior opponent. I think this week they're going to push a little harder to get this offense in gear before they get to Big Ten play. So they struggled against Notre Dame to score points. They struggled a little bit last week to score points. I think this week's going to be a week that, CJ Stroud and that offense get it going.
Yep. Arkansas Pine Bluff travels to Oklahoma State. Yeah, just give us Oklahoma State.
Yeah, by a bunch.
Yep. Missouri State travels to Arkansas. Yep, give us Arkansas on this one. Akron travels to Tennessee. We saw what Akron did last week.
Yeah.
Tennessee, 47.5-point favorites. Give me Tennessee. I'm not laying the points.
No, I'm taking the points. Tennessee by probably 30. I'm taking the points with Akron.
Yeah. Yep. Texas Tech travels to NC State. Sorry, can't see the spread there.
It's 10.
I'm going NC State, and I'm going NC State outright.
Yeah, I'm going to lay the points on this. I went back and forth a little bit. I think this is going to be a fairly close game, but I think NC State's going to have enough horses. Last week, it looked like they got things going. Of course, they were playing an inferior opponent, but they didn't look great in week 1 against East Carolina, where they struggled to win that game. Last week, they were a little more fluid on offense. Give me NC State bouncing back and keeping that going against Texas Tech here, probably by 13. This isn't going to be a comfortable cover, but I think they're going to cover.
Yeah. Michigan State travels to Washington. Washington, 3.5-point favorite here.
Yeah, that's an interesting line. Michigan State's defensive backfield is really, really bad. And Washington's offense has shown that they can really throw the ball all over the park. They've got the transfer quarterback that seems to have picked it up pretty quickly. I'm going to take the points. I think Michigan State wins outright, but if I'm wagering this weekend, I'm going to play it safe and give me the 3.5, but I'm going to pick Michigan State to win this game.
I'm with hedging, you. Right? Yeah, it's like you're waffling or something. I don't know. I'm going Michigan State. Give me Michigan State.
Yeah.
South Florida travels to Florida. Florida, 24.5-point favorite. I don't know. I'm going to pick Florida. I just don't know about the points.
Yeah, the spread.
The only passing touchdown that he has this year is to the other team. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I'm taking the points.
I think I will too.
I've got Florida winning the game, but I'm taking the points with South Florida. It's probably going to be a 17-point game, I think. Florida just they can't move the ball in chunks. If they don't get big runs from Richardson, I just it's a trog for them to try to get the ball down the field.
Yeah. Yep. Pitt, West Virginia. Pitt. Or I'm sorry, West Michigan.
Yeah.
Pitt by 10. Yeah. Give me Pitt all the way.
Yeah, this came down to me, the spread. I think Pitt wins this game. I'm still up in the air a little bit. I'm going to lay the points on the show, but if I'm wagering by the weekend, I'm paying attention to Keaton Slovis's injury status because they still don't know if he's going to play. If he doesn't play, Nick Patty looked okay, but I don't think they win by 10+ against Western Michigan if Slovis doesn't play. I think they are talented enough to win the game, but it's going to be a one-possession game if Nick Patty's the guy. So I'm going to lay the points on the show. That's going to be my pick. But by the weekend, with my actual dollars, if I'm wagering, I'm paying attention to that Keaton Slovis injury status.
All right. All righty. Louisiana Tech, Clemson, 34-point favorites. Not so fast. Not so fast. I'll take Clemson. I ain't taking the 34-point favorite. Unless.
Yeah. If you could tell me that they're going to start Cade Klubnik,
then I'll take it.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the points as well. Clemson outright, but probably by 25-28 if they stick with DJ.
Yeah. Yep. UTSA travels to Texas. The Roadrunners, Longhorns, Texas, 12.5-point favorites. Well, we know who Aaron picked. He picked Texas. I'm going Roadrunners.
Outright.
Roadrunners, baby.
Man, I like it. I wish I had it in me. There's some things about UTSA.
It feels so good to do it. It feels so good.
I know. I'm taking the points. This is going to be a one-possession game down the stretch. Aaron, I'm like 55% on Texas here, but clearly Stove's on UTSA. So this one is definitely, I think it's certainly a coin flip of sorts. I'm going to take the points with UTSA. 12.5 is too much for me with Texas. Obviously, Ewers won't be playing. Bijan Robinson is good, and I think UTSA, they struggled last week against the pass, against Army somehow. Like, Army, would they throw for 375, I think, in the game? That's unheard of. It's unheard of. So I do think that Hudson's going to get a little bit of something going with the passing game, having a whole week under his belt in practice, but UTSA can score. Frank Harris is legit. He's the real deal. He's this year for me. He's Malik Willis for me. He's that level of athletic. I don't think he's quite as accurate as Malik Willis, and certainly doesn't have the rubber band arm that Malik Willis had. But his skill set, he can make people miss in space. He can make all the throws. I like what Frank Harris brings to the table. That they'd be fucking exhausted, right? I mean, I know they're 18 and 22-year-olds, but I'm going to take the points. I think Texas by probably 6 in this game.
All right.
But I'd love to see an upset. Stove, I want you to be right on this.
I do too. And it will happen. So
Runners.
Yeah.
Outright.
Miami, 13, goes into Texas A&M, 24. A&M, 5.5-point favorites here.
Doesn't that line feel disrespectful?
5.5. 5.
Yeah.
5.
Feels disrespectful.
Well, you lose to App State. You have a week that you've had. Jimbo's lost control. Give me Miami.
Oh yeah, I'm with you 100%. It feels disrespectful to Miami if I'm being frank. Like I can't believe that A&M is even the favorite, let alone 5.5. Oh yeah, Alfred U, Division III powerhouse in football. They played in the Division III semifinal. They lost to Wisconsin Whitewater, I believe is who they lost to in the semifinal. And anybody who knows college football knows Wisconsin Whitewater. So that was 3 years ago, maybe 4. But yeah, they got a really good football program, Division III level.
Huh. All right.
Yeah.
Good to know.
For sure. I went to my JUCO that I played baseball at was across the street. Smallest, I swear. And my dad can vouch for this. Smallest town in America. When the colleges aren't in session, there's like 200 people in that. I kid you not. In Alfred, there's like 200 people. They literally are merged with a school. It's Alfred Almond is the school district, and it's one of the smallest school districts in our area. That's how small the town is. But there's 2 fucking colleges in this town across the street from each other.
Oh, wow.
One's a private institution that does like high level research for Corning Incorporated, who does Corning glass and all that stuff. And then the SUNY school is the one I went to that's across the street. It's now it's a 4-year school, but it was a 2-year junior college. So
Okay.
pretty crazy, that town. I explain that to people every once in a while when they ask like where I went to school. Like, yeah, you wouldn't believe how the population multiplies by like 1,000 when the campuses are in session, because both of the schools are pretty decent sized campuses, and I think each one has a student body population of like 800 plus, maybe even 1,000.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah. There's a little bar, one bar in town. It's called GJ's. One bar in town, and every Friday and Saturday night, that place is.
Oh, that place is probably packed. Oh yeah,
swamped. Yep.
Nice. San Diego State travels to Utah. Utah 21-point favorite here. Sure, I'll give me Utah.
Yeah, I'm gonna lay him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Utah scored like 50 last week, or 70, 73. They got the offense going a little bit. I'm going to lay the points.
Yeah. Fresno State travels to USC. USC, is that 12 or 17?
12 points.
12-point favorite.
Yep.
Well, I'll just come out and say it. Jake Haener, have yourself a ball game, baby. Get yourself up on that Heisman list, baby. This is your game to shine. Fresno State.
I'm not going to take them outright. I'm going to take Fresno plus the points. I know. I'm a disappointment. I am, but I'm going to take the 12. But I think USC by maybe a tutty. Fresno doesn't have a lot of talent outside of Haener this year. They're not the team that they were. Yeah, they're not the team they were last year. So I know Haener came back, and I love that he came back. But they did not restock the cupboard very well, so
yeah,
they're gonna struggle. I give me USC. I don't know if they're gonna blow them out though.
All right. So we got a good some good matchups this weekend. So I'm excited for it.
Yes, sir.
I'm excited, obviously, for Nebraska, see what they can do with the interim head coach. I'm excited for some of these other ball games that are, some top 25 matchups, and see which ones fall, and see what other major upsets we can have this week. Sure, Aaron. Sure.
Yeah, bud.
Absolutely. Fire away.
The backyard family, right? No, I'm excited for this weekend. We got some good matchups. I think there's some potential here. You've got a couple of upsets that you had a little more willingness to pick than I did, and I waffled a bit on a couple. I think we're going to have some really exciting games. I'm really, really interested to see Miami go into College Station. How does Texas A&M respond to the loss to App State? And can Mario Cristobal keep the momentum going that they've built up to start the season and take on a quality SEC opponent and maybe put the stamp on things to say the U might be back, right? So
Absolutely.
if he can go into College Station and knock off Jimbo and the boys, it might be time for people. They might start throwing up the U again.
Yeah. Aaron, flex PPR league.
Waddle. He's going to get 6 catches.
Right,
he's going to get 6 catches. He's going to get 80 to 120 yards, and he's likely to get a tutty.
Yep.
Judy, I didn't like the way the Broncos offense looked last week, and I thought Judy was pretty fortunate to get the touchdown he got. Russ severely underthrew him. The Seahawks defenders made a couple of bonehead plays on the same play. I just think that offense is not up to snuff right now. I think Russ is distracted by a lot of things, and I think we learned a lot about what he was in Seattle based on what we heard out of the locker room after that game, with Pete Carroll saying we really wanted to get this one to show that it's not about one person, it's about a team. So Waddle and Tua had chemistry last year. They still have it this year. Waddle's not going to get double teams like he did last year with Tyreek Hill there. So he's going to have 6 to 8 catches, 80 to 120 yards, and he might get in the end zone.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So, well, that is the episode for tonight. Again, next week, Gary and I will be live from VodTech in Blacksburg. Cannot wait for that. Cannot wait to do some tailgating together.
Yes, sir.
We got a couple buddies of ours coming down for it too. It's going to be a good time. Going to be a good time. Got some good football this weekend. And and next week, we're starting our Heisman stock report.
Yep.
So I cannot wait to see where your mind's at and where mine's at. see where we cross paths here.
Yeah, for sure. We had some weeks last year that were, we were highlighting a lot of different players. So I'm excited for that again this year. It was good conversation, good spirited debates about different players and seeing how everybody kind of shifted as we went. And then as we got closer to the end of the season, I think, everything starts to kind of scope in a little bit. You know enough about people, and we started to be a little closer as the season went. But these early weeks are fun when you've got, a handful of different guys that you're highlighting and trying to project, hey, are they going to be able to keep this up as the season goes, for sure. So good fun. That's going to be awesome to have back on the slate next week. Yeah,
absolutely. And we're also needing some names. Gary and I have been kind of throwing around some names here and there. We have the Rosenbaggers podcast where we do a fair or foul. We have the NFL, the Blitz podcast where we do cap facts. So we're looking for one for the tailgate here, where you guys can send in questions or have, some questions answered and everything else like that. And we'll give you our takes on it. So give us some names for that segment as well. So we're hoping to start that in the next week or so as well. But another good slate of college football this weekend. Can't wait. And then obviously next week, it's just going to be a fun week next week in general.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I can't wait to go live from the fucking stadium too. That's
I can't either, bud.
That place is going to be fucking bananas. I know Virginia Tech's down a bit, but we're talking border war. We're talking prime time Thursday night live on ESPN. It's going to be fucking awesome in that fucking stadium, man. Going to be tremendous.
Yep, absolutely. Well, that will do it tonight for the Tailgate Trash Talk. I'm Big Stove. Got my man Gary next to me here. Episode 4.
Yeah.
In the books. And we will see you next week live from Blacksburg.